Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Owner's Box. I'm Billy Koch, founder and managing partner of Little Red Feather Racing Club. Joining me, as always, the effervescent Michelle Yu.
Hi,
When,
Billy.
when was the last time you heard that word, effervescent?
I actually use that word
You
a little
do?
bit.
There was a
Yeah.
great horse named Effervescence when I was growing up.
And then, oh no, I was thinking of a bouleissant. Then they had a bouleissant, which is like effervescent.
Right. What what I called you something last week and people kind of got mad.
Did you?
Yeah, it
What
was
did you
like
call me?
it was misogynistic.
I honestly, I don't think that you're ever
I
misogynistic
don't
against me.
either, but like it's just people who I think when you take it out of context, people don't know the relationship that you and I have, right? So
Yeah,
unless they listen to the show or they know what good friends we are. So if I say that you are sexy, that is not me.
that's so exciting.
That is not me being misogynistic towards Michelle.
Definitely not.
We have a cool show. Who's our guest today, Michelle? A special guest that you
We
found. So
do. We have a special guest. So his name is Steven Duncker, and he is a racing owner. He actually is part owner of Deterministic, who won the rescheduled Grade One Manhattan this weekend at Saratoga.
brilliant
But
race.
he has his finger into so many different pies. And I actually had called Shannon Kelly, who works at the Jockey Club Safety Net, and I'm like, "Hey, do you happen to know this guy? Do you think he'd be a good interview?" She was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, he does
Great.
all this stuff," and she had this laundry list of, things he's involved in and charities he works for. He's obviously a longtime owner, so looking forward to having him. Very happy he was willing to join us today and talk about his horse winning a Grade One this weekend.
Stephen not Dunkirk, like the
No,
movie.
not Dunkirk like the horse.
Right.
No,
Dun Dun
Duncker, Dunker.
Dunker. Stephen Dunker. All right.
Mhm.
Stephen Dunker's going to join us in a minute. We did not do a show last week because Michelle was in New York
Traveling.
in the rain and the heat, which you still like Saratoga, huh?
I do. You wanna know, let me tell you a funny thing. So, I flew in, and the next morning, I was like, "Well, I need to go to walk because that's my exercise, right?"
Right.
And so I was, like, walking, and I see a guy that looks like Bill Strauss,
Yeah.
and yeah, I was like, "Oh, weird." And so I keep walking, and I'm like, "It is Bill Strauss." And so I, like, wave, right? And Bill's like, "Hmm," and just keeps on
Yeah.
going and, like, trucks along. And I, like, kind of jogged to catch up to him, and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "Well, I thought the same thing, but I waved at you and you waved back." He goes, "I thought it was just a friendly person." I'm like, "In New York?" He
That's
was
pretty
like,
good.
so then
That's
we
pretty
walked
good.
together for like a mile
I
or
just thought
so.
it was a friendly person,
Mhm.
like waving at Bill.
Right? And he was like,
That's
"Hi."
so funny.
So I did get to walk with Bill Strauss. I heard Gary was there, but I never got to see him.
Never not see him. A lot of people. Your Brett Jones was there. All your
Oh, I did
favorites.
see Brett Jones, actually. I was literally having dinner the first night, and I look out my window, and Brett Jones is walking by. So I snap a photo of him and send it. He goes, "Seriously, my spidey senses were tingling." And when I talked to him at the races the next day, he said, "I swear I felt like you were watching me." And I was like, "Well, that sounds a little creepy, a little creepy." He was
Not
like, "No,
creepy.
but I looked around and I didn't see anybody. And then you sent me that picture." So it was, we must be cosmically connected, Brett
That's
Jones and
of
I.
course you are. Of course you are. Speaking of Brett Jones, did you see he's running Saturday?
No, what?
Oh, thought process. Your favorite horse.
Yeah, why? Wait.
Wait, time. You want a timeout? You want a 20-second timeout?
I just wanna know how come we were thinking about dirt and then we went not dirt.
We'll let you in behind the curtain. You know that the allowance race, we weren't sure if it was ever going to go,
Mhm,
so we wanted to have an option.
mhm,
Because if that race didn't go, it's so long before the San Clemente. I think it's 5 or 6 weeks, and we might have had to ship. We were thinking about possibly the Teppan Stakes at Churchill or the Penn Oaks.
mhm.
Put her in there and actually see and take, see who else was going in and kind of get a feel. And she drew the rail and dirt first time off the layoff, mile and 16th. It just ended up, we just felt it was the better move to just wait and be patient. It's very hard. Here's a Billy's soapbox for owners who actually listen to this show. Being patient in this game is the hardest thing to do. You look at a filly like Eiffel, who you were so complimentary about the other day, and who you picked on top. Thank you for listening to me. She was our problem child. as a 2-year-old. She just, and there was never anything. She never had a surgery. She never had anything really truly wrong with her. Eddie Woods, who's the master, who's retiring, as we've talked about, and he was on our show a couple weeks ago. He called us and just said, look, every time I start with this filly, I just can't get her going. She's by City of Light. She's just not going to be a 2-year-old, period. And he said, he goes, if you want her, I think she has talent. And if you want her to be a good horse, we're going to just put her away and we're not going to think about her for 6 months.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it's awesome. But when you hear that and you have investors and partners and you have to tell them that, it's very difficult. And trust me, I got a lot of emails of like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this?
Especially because she was pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, she cost $50,000 at the yearling sale. And you know, it was a really hard thing, but it's amazing that if you do the right thing, good things can happen. And we listened to Eddie, we trusted him, brought him in, and Mike Pipey did a great job of also trusting Eddie Woods, because Michelle, you know this, a lot of times you'll get a horse from a breaker. Let's call Eddie Woods a
prepper.
Breaker. A prepper? What did you call it?
A prepper.
Right. So, and then a lot of times the trainers, whether it's in Southern California, New York, doesn't matter. They'll go, okay, now I have to start over and go into my program. Well, Eddie specifically told Mike, he's like, look, this filly has a foundation. She's ready to go on. You know, don't wait and start all over because she's going good right now. And credit to Pipey. He listened, did the right thing, and she was unbelievable the other day. I mean, she ran an 81 by. She ran a 14 on the rags, and
I thought she was like I was like, oh, we're so screwed. When she got stuck behind the wall of traffic, and I was like, there's no room for her. And then she just bowled her way through and was here, and then down to the rail. And I mean, how game was she?
It was a lot of fun, and but it also like in this game, there's so many days, and I'm sure you have these days where you're just kind of down. You're just kind of like. Nothing's kind of going right. You know, we struggled in the first half of this year. A lot of our horses were hurt and out and coming back from injury and all this kind of stuff. And there's days where you're just like, what are we doing? Why am I doing this? And then you have a day like that, and it makes all those other days worthwhile. And you just have to constantly remind yourself that there are good things ahead. There are good things that are going to happen. And if you can do that, you can stay in this game for a long time. If you don't have the patience and you can't handle a lot of bad news, maybe this isn't the right game for you, because you got to be patient, you got to wait, and good things ultimately will happen. So there you go. That's my Billy soapbox for the day. True. Those are all true stories. I mean, this is all, you know, same thing with thought process about waiting. It's like, it's very difficult to wait. It's very difficult when you have a horse ready to run and you're hoping a race goes, especially out here in Southern California. With all due respect, a lot of races don't go. A lot of times you're kind of stuck and you're running in races you didn't really plan for, you didn't want to run in. And a lot of times that comes with bad news too. Like, bad things can happen. So we chose to be patient and waited it out. And thankfully we got the race. So we'll see what happens on Saturday.
All right. Well, good luck. It's very
long-winded story for one horse, but
I like it.
Anyway, but then
I had to know.
You won the race before, which was really great.
Yeah, yes, with Broadway Venus. Rispoli had been telling Ryan, hey, when the first time he rode her, he's like, hey, this filly needs to go a mile on the dirt. And Ryan's like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, she's just there. She has to go too fast sprinting and just try it. Because she doesn't like, even when she's working, she doesn't like to go very far.
Right.
So, okay. And then we kept trying to get her, but the race just didn't go for her. So we ended up getting a mile on the grass, and it was just too tough against that particular group, but finally got a mile dirt race to go, and she was super happy and won nicely. Yeah.
It was really nice. I saw Ryan the next morning, by the way. He doesn't probably tell you anything. And I said to him, hey, congrats, nice win. And he goes, yeah, you too. He goes, do you want to trade horses? I said, I think I'm going to pass on that, Ryan. I appreciate it. Appreciate the offer.
I'm trying to make an offer for you, Billy. You know, I mean, you have so many turf fillies. You might want a nice naming filly in your barn.
We have now 6 3-year-old turf filly maiden winners.
See?
I mean, 6, and that includes Thought Process and Favor to You, who both run multiple races. But well, the good news is,
by the way, I saw John Dowd at Saratoga.
Oh, you did?
In the winner's circle for Bookham Dano.
Oh, yeah, those are his guys. Yeah. Yeah, credit John Dowd. He's picked out a lot of these winners, so give him a lot of credit. All right. So
So it was
what have we
Belmont.
missed? What?
Well, Belmont this weekend, right?
Yeah. And by the way, before we get started, and I'm going to bash Saratoga and the weather, it was just a mess. It was just a mess. The races coming off the grass, then the races going to the next day. Then, like, you couldn't bet. Like, it was just, I don't know. It was bad. I don't
It
know.
was hard.
Can I ask you a question? If they
Mhm.
knew that was coming, remember I don't remember who did it. Was it Churchill or someone? Remember when all the rains were coming and we moved the races to like Monday and Tuesday? Did
Santa
we do it
Anita
on
did that.
field? Santa Anita did that. Why didn't they just do that? Was it TV contracts?
I mean, definitely, like, the people were complaining about the timing of why we were having 48 minutes in between races when they canceled the 2 Grade 1 turf races.
Right. Right.
And people have to understand they were on contract to, Big Fox to
Right.
have the Belmont during this time frame. You couldn't just speed up the races
Yeah,
and
that makes
then, be in this area where you're not fulfilling your contract. So, it wasn't just to keep people there, and it wasn't a money grab to make more money on,
yeah, but
hot dogs.
baseball games get rained out and they get,
Yeah.
still have TV, the next day, and it would have been like a Sunday or a Monday. I don't know, maybe they couldn't have done it, but the fact that they took off the grade 1 turf races and left the other ones on the dirt to have
Mhm.
these real small fields, that was, I don't know, that was weird. Maybe just
I
move them
think
all.
their original hope was to preserve the grade 1s, keep them going, take the grade 2s off so they didn't compromise the turf course.
Yeah,
But then just the rain kept getting, heavier and heavier, and it wasn't drying out at all.
yeah,
And then when people were considering scratching, it looked like the smarter move to move them to the next day and have them be the lone turf races at the end of the card when
yeah.
there was going to be sun and some weather. I mean, look at Belmont's main track, or Saratoga's main track, for example. The first
Right.
5 races, we were in a deluge, and
Yeah,
by the Belmont, we were fast,
yeah, yeah.
right?
What'd you think of the Belmont? Oh, what a shock! Sovereignty won.
Woo! I mean,
All
how
these
good
people
does
who
that
thought
look?
journalism was going to beat him, I'm sorry.
I
Sovereignty is my guy.
watching journalism that week, I ended up putting him on top because I thought he's doing so good. Like, sometimes horses thrive off racing, and to me, he looked like he was really in this, like, great zone.
No, but he
But
got handled the time before. He got
yes,
in the
he
Derby
did.
and he had 5 weeks, and Bill Mott. I mean, come on, people.
I know.
I can't believe he was favored over Sovereignty. But that
I
anyway.
will say, people that are complaining, like, "Oh, if he hadn't run, he probably would have." No, he wouldn't have. Like, if journalism did not run in the Preakness, your result would have been the same. He got beat the same in the Kentucky Derby. Sovereignty is just this much better than journalism. It doesn't matter what races they had or didn't have in between, in my opinion.
I don't get. You could have had God as a 3-year-old, and I don't think he was beating Sovereignty on Saturday. So,
I mean, could you imagine if the race a mile and a half too? He would have
oh,
won by he would
oh,
have
by a
won like
pole.
Secretariat.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Now, if you're
What a
Godolphin,
cool horse.
we had Michael Banahan on the show talking
Yep.
about how the horse's ultimate goal is the Dubai World Cup, right?
Yeah.
But do you now look back and think, oh, would have been kind of cool to have a Triple Crown winner?
Well, I think I would have, but I don't think they think like that. I mean, we
Yeah.
talked to Manahan. I mean, it had nothing to do with the Preakness or the history of
Mhm.
racing. It all had to do with Bill Mott and the horse. And
Yeah.
Bill Mott said, "I want time in between races," and he got it. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I think, look, you and I are different. If you own the horse, you probably would have run in the Preakness. I can imagine that I would have had a hard time passing up the Preakness, but for them, that particular ownership group that is so dominant, they can do whatever they want. And
Yeah.
and the critics can be critics. That's why they're called critics, right? Because they criticize. And the all the pundits and the people who believe in the Triple Crown, and I do. I love the Triple Crown. I think the Triple Crown is great. I think it's sacred, right? But that doesn't mean that it's for everybody, and they get to do what they want to do. They own the horse.
And didn't
Period.
journalism show that you can compete successfully in all 3 legs of the Triple Crown?
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
mean, come on, when that horse debuted, if you had told McCarthy and the whole team there, "Hey, this horse is gonna win a Triple Crown race and run second in the 2," you don't think they would have said, "Great, that sounds
Sign
awesome,"
me up. Yeah, sign me
right?
up.
Sign me up.
Yeah,
Sign me
absolutely,
up.
absolutely. I think it's a great rivalry. I think the 3-year-old crop this year is really good.
Really good.
I think they're going to be a presence at the Del Mar Breeders' Cup come November, which will be very exciting, Michelle.
What were your favorite races from the weekend or most impressive?
I love She Feels Pretty.
Mhm.
But and I think the filly that ran second was really game. I did not like the Met Mile. I thought the sloppy track and just the fact that Raging Torrent just made the lead and just kind of boated around there. It wasn't. You didn't get to see the best of Fierceness. You didn't get to see the best of White Abario.
Mhm.
I thought Bookham Dano's win was really cool.
Wasn't he so great?
Yeah,
I accidentally called Jeff Rubenstein Josh though. And he
Josh
got mad at
Rubenstein?
me.
Belmar?
Well, that's in my head. That's what I said, but it's from the guy that is the partner on the Atlantic 6. And so I have to apologize. But Bookham Dano, I still love. He ran a fantastic race. He showed so much heart and determination.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. And I loved Nitrogen. I know it was a 3-horse field, but really the way she did it, that's what you want to see, right? She looked phenomenal. She obviously handled the dirt beautifully. She ran just about as fast as they ran the Met Mile.
I know. Other than Sovereignty, I thought the most impressive winner of the weekend might have been Ways and Means. But she loved Saratoga. And but we all know that she's a very, very nice filly. But even the other race that was won by Dorth Vader.
Defeating Good Cheer.
Yeah, again, the track, the surface, everything. I mean, randomized just stopped. I just like we didn't. I felt like we didn't get a fair assessment of what looked like a really great weekend of racing. I think all races should be run in Southern California. All of them.
Well, our guest is here, and he might disagree with you as a New Yorker there, Billy.
Oh, yeah.
I think we had a ton of fun this weekend, and this will make rematches very exciting coming up in the future. So let's welcome in our guest,
Steve Duncker.
Steve. Hi, Steve.
You're nice to have me. Thank you for adding me to the show. This is my pleasure.
Is it Steve or Steven?
Steve.
We want to go with Steve. Now, Steve, do you agree with my assessment that because of the weather, all big races, all grade ones should be run in Southern California?
I think that's like putting the ball up over the rim and letting me slam it. Of course, I don't agree with that. But it's a provocative way to start this segment, so I think that's very well done.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, I don't know if you've ever heard our show, but we are. We get owners.
We are a very positive show. Billy's just being mean.
No, I do know your show. I know both of you. I'm honored to be on. You guys are great. I love the jive. I love the banter.
All right, good.
Yay.
Good. We appreciate it. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get involved in horse ownership?
That's a fun story for me. So when I was 13, my best friend took me to the racetrack. And I fell in love with it, and I always liked to gamble, and so I thought that was a puzzle that was fun to decipher. And the reason I start there is because that same friend of mine and myself started a summer job where we tarred driveways in St. Louis, Missouri, made $3,000 each, and bought a racehorse.
No way.
No way.
So when you were still young,
17. So we started the business when we were 16. That summer, 16-year-old summer, we made a bunch of money, and we bought the horse, bunch of money. We made $3,000 and each. And we got two other older friends involved and bought a racehorse. And it was really, people ask me, well, how did you know what to do with the horse? The local track, I grew up in St. Louis, was Fairmount Park. Sure. And so we went to the racing secretary's office at Fairmount Park. We ran our finger down the list of leading trainers. We felt the first three wouldn't care about two 17-year-olds. Picked the fourth guy, a guy named Mike Fingerhut. They paged him. Mike Fingerhut, can you come to the racing office?
That's amazing.
My buddy Ted Levis and I stuck out our hand and said, would you like to train a horse for us? And he thought, of course, that was just, we were not telling the truth, but informal affair. Arrived on a Sally van, maybe not Sally. Now it's Sally. I don't know what it was then. And there we go. So that was really fun. I think half our high school was there when she made her debut. And one of the most expensive things that ever happened to me in my life is that she won.
No.
And,
No way.
So that was the beginning of it all.
That is the craziest story ever.
Informal affair. Did you claim her? Did you?
So she was running on the Kentucky circuit, and we knew some people there, and we had this over-inflated sense of our acumen that we knew. I'll make these numbers up. I don't remember the real numbers, but that It was $50 a day to keep a horse at Keeneland. It was $16 a day to keep a horse at Fairmont. That the ratio of purses at Fairmont, instead of being the 32% that the expenses were, was 56%. So we thought if you buy a horse there, you bring it here, you get it.
Yeah.
So
It's smart.
that's what we did. Yeah. And another
How much did she cost?
All these numbers are in my memory, and it's going to be directionally right. $3,200.
Wow.
And
only half of your capital then. That's not bad.
Well, they use the other for expenses.
Yeah,
What?
we knew. See, you know this.
Yeah.
You both know this. But you really know this. You don't want to go. And plus, we could only make money in the summer, so we couldn't. If we needed the money, it had to be there. We couldn't go tar a driveway in December of
you could
the school
shovel
year.
driveways in
I want
December.
to know did you guys put your names on it, or was it, did you use like
Trips to Win stables? Because
what were the silks?
White with a blue ball with 3 aces.
So you were a poker player.
Poker
Trips
player,
to
yeah.
Win.
Well, we were poker players.
Right.
So so we made a little money with informal. I won't go too well. I guess the podcast I can go on and on, but
you can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
I got you for another 5 minutes. You're good.
Yeah. So we made a little money, and we decided to go to the Keeneland January sale and buy another one. And so this is once again in my memory, but it was a terrible storm there. And our trainer got there, and in our minds, we bought the next horse cheap because of the bad weather. May or may not be true. We named her Cordial Affair.
Okay.
And the reason I bring her up, her first start at Fairmont was the first ever pari-mutuel race that Tom Durkin called.
No way.
Yeah. And somewhere in my files, I've got the little teeny racing form article that says, excitable Irishman Tom Durkin made his debut calling at Fairmont Park. It looks like he'll be around for a while.
Wow. What race did you just think of Tom Durkin's when you said that?
Well, I'm a Tom Durkin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy fanboy.
Yeah, welcome to the club. I want to hear the call.
And this is, it was a great honor. I got to do his introduction when he was put in the red jacket at Saratoga.
Oh, that's
and look, I could go on and on these, but
I want one. I want the one that's
real quiet Victory Gallop.
Okay.
Real quiet Victory Gallop.
Michelle?
Yeah, and then 2 would be Holy Bull Concern, maybe.
That's me right there.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Pause for concern.
Wow, really? I go Tis Now Wins It for America, right? That's the first thing that comes into my head is Tis Now Wins It for America. All right, Steve.
It's so dumb. I always think of R.
Yeah, that.
Even though that horse wasn't very good.
That was good. That was funny, Steve. Well, okay, so you're a kid. You're now buying horses. And take us to the next part of when you got real serious. And obviously we're going to get to deterministic and some of your horses. So what's the mid-range?
So we then, of course, started to lose money in the horse business. We all went to college. We went our separate ways. And I went to Duke. I got to Duke, and I had a fraternity brother that I played backgammon with. And I won $2,000 from him playing backgammon, and he couldn't pay me.
Right.
So he went home for Christmas, and he came back and he said, well, I was given 10% of a racehorse for Christmas. This is all true, by the way.
Oh, I love it.
10% of a racehorse for Christmas. Yeah. Would you take the 10% instead of the $2,000? And I said, well, tell me about it. He goes, here's the breeding, here's this. But the reason you should do this, we're going to sell it in the Tattersall sale in February. You're going to make a lot more than $2,000. Goes to Tattersall. This is back when there was I was 1979. I don't know, whatever year.
Yeah.
And I've got a buddy so I called my same friend and I said, if you give me 1,000, we'll go halves, because I wanted 1,000. And so
I needed some more gambling money.
I needed. Well, I was a student. That was meaningful. So at any rate, he was on the West Coast. He went to USC. He went to the track all the time. But anyway, I didn't know what a reserve was at a sale. So they had a reserve on this horse, didn't get the reserve.
Okay.
Now the bills start coming in. So to make a long story a little shorter, we traded the 5% of the horse for all the bills, and we kept the terminal value on 5%.
Okay.
So the breeding was Sir Ivor out of Sunday Purchase. The horse was Bates Motel, and they sold it to
No way.
Sheik Mo for $17 million.
Are you kidding me right now?
I'm not kidding.
Chills. Bates Motel was like my favorite horse growing up.
How about that? John Gosden, Terry Lipham. Yeah.
Wow.
The yellow silks with the polka dots.
Yes. That's and so my buddy David Reardon didn't tell his mom, Jacqueline Getty Phillips Reardon, that he'd done this. And so me and my buddy Ted Levis, he gets name checked because he's my great horse racing buddy.
Right.
We keep showing up at the races. And we're well dressed and everything, but we're loud. We're excited. And finally, she found out why we were so excited. So,
did you you got the money?
We got the money. Yeah, we did. And it's funny because I remember
this is one of the greatest stories.
$850,000.
Yeah, you should write a book.
That's what I said. You should write a book.
Here's the thing. I tell these stories, and it's just oh my God. But you got to look at the end result, which is we've gotten killed owning horses. I mean, I tell these stories as like, oh, you look at all this, everything works. No, it doesn't always work. These are just the stories that get told on the podcast. So,
right. Exactly. Yeah. Like Steve, people ask me all the time, they're like, when they want to get into the partnership and they say, can you send the ROI for your last, 10 partnerships? I go, guys, if you're asking that question, don't do it. My response is going to be 0. You are going to lose. And they just don't, but they won't accept it. They think I'm kidding.
I love that. I love that bit because that is exactly what I say. I say you're going to lose all your money. You're going to decide at the end if we've had enough fun to make it worthwhile. And that's what it is. And you provide, you do a great job with this. You provide an experience for these people. You curate the experience. They wouldn't know what to do. Both of you know how to get people excited about this. So that's what it is. So
that's awesome. Steve Duncker joining us here on the Owner's Box. I'm sure Michelle has 9,000 questions for you, so I'll let her start.
So now you have your cash cow from Bates Motel.
Yeah.
And do you go crazy and start buying more horses, or do you just keep it?
I didn't go crazy. One of the things that I found, and this speaks, Billy, to what you do, is it's really a lot more fun to own them with your buddies. And so I went off for a long period of time and bought them on my own with some great friends from Kentucky, the Lavins. They guided me through it, Doc Lavin and Kevin and Alan Lavin. But I was the sole owner. I had a great time. But the problem is you get all the financial pain then. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun during that time, but I didn't go crazy. I even though I love it and I'm hooked and the needle went in early, as I said, I at least have a little bit of common sense, a little bit when it comes to this. So anyway.
Well, it's also a thing where, when I first started, people would always say the sport of kings, and they frowned upon people who were in partnership as if they were like, well, you can't afford it. You can't be in this, or you're not, you don't own it by yourself. You need help, which is, if you look at today's world, and Michelle and I talk about it on the show, whether it's you guys or Vinny Viola and Rapoli or the Avengers, it's everyone's teaming up.
Yes. And I think that's exactly right. And I kind of sanitized that in my brain looking backwards that was the case, but it really was the case. And I'm so glad that's changed. I think that the communal experience is it's just so much fun. So it's just really, it's expensive fun, but it's crazy fun. So it's been a great journey for me. There's no doubt about it.
Well, and Steve, you've gone from just being a $2,000 horse owner to really having your finger in a lot of different pies, especially in New York. Shannon was telling me, you're involved in so many boards and charity work. Can you just kind of scroll through the things that have been really important to you?
Sure. When my career was at an investment bank as a partner at Goldman Sachs, and I retired young, and I got on the New York NIRA board, and then became chairman of NIRA with a great friend of mine, Peter Karchis, who passed away. And I think I was chairman for 11 or 12 years. So to the question, Bill, you asked earlier, should all the, I mean, I've got NIRA running through my veins a little bit. And
maybe he can get the shorts thing taken care of. It's the only reason Billy doesn't like Saratoga is because he couldn't wear shorts in the attic.
That's not true.
By the way, I understand the weather argument. I mean, it's just been brutal. So
it's terrible.
I get it. At any rate, so NIRA is important to me. I've been a member of the Jockey Club. I'm not sure how long. And a lot of that is important to me. Look, I love racing. I think that business model is very hard to make work. I think if you peel back, which you don't even have to peel it back, we all know this, almost half the purses in America are subsidies from gaming. Yeah. And that's not great. No. So let's not go. I'll go there if you want, but we don't have to go there. And when you
I mean, you don't have to go there, but it would be interesting from your perspective and your vantage point of what can we do. I mean, go to the 30,000 foot view, because I get asked this question every day. It's like, what are we supposed to do? How do we improve racing? Obviously, if you go on Twitter, you could just listen to Mike Rapoli, and he seems to have a lot of the answers. But what is our future? Where do you see this going, Steve?
I think that what we're seeing now, and we're in a pretty acute phase of this, is that there's some racetracks where the land is worth so much more. This is not insight, but that we have to rationalize around the places where that's not the case, and where the racetrack actually makes everything else around it more valuable. And there aren't so many of those, so that might mean that there's some contraction. Yeah. And as I said, I grew up at Fairmount Park. I'm a lover of the small tracks. Yeah, I think they're crucial. But where I think the salvation is, and all this is complicated because when you start saying what I'm about to say, other things get affected. But smaller boutique meets where this is not insightful. Everybody gets it.
I've been saying this. You look, Steve, look at the really truly successful meets right now. You take Saratoga, small town. You take Oaklawn, small town. Everything's around that racetrack. You take Del Mar, everything's around that racetrack. Keeneland in Lexington, everything is around that racetrack. Those are the meets. These small boutique. You're 100% right.
Because the invisible hand, Adam Smith's invisible hand works. And if Santa Anita's worth $1 billion of land, we can want it to be there forever. But that's a long putt to say that that's going to be the case. Yeah. So, and then where it goes is that the economics are driven by hospitality revenues, by sponsorship revenues, along with the gambling revenues. And you don't have to look very far in Europe. Those are the ones that are successful. So it's easier to say these things than it is to make them happen. One of the things that gets bandied about a lot is, and this happens in college sports, I'm pretty involved in college sports also, is that...
Well, you went to the Northwestern of the South.
So I went to Northwestern too. I went to
great!
I love Northwestern. I'm a huge Cats man. I watch all the, unless they're playing Duke, I'm rooting for the Cats. That's all there is to it. And Chris Collins is a Dookie.
Yeah,
Cats football and basketball. Anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole. But you and I could do that sometime.
We can do that later. Yeah.
So
Billy's so excited right now.
I was so excited.
At any rate, that there, NIRA is in Keeneland, is in Oaklawn, is in Churchill. One's a private company, one's a public company, one's a private not-for-profit, one's a, the rule. Everybody has to do what their stewardship tells them to do. People, there's a lot of chatter about Churchill. Oh, they're not doing what's good for racing. You know why? They're a public company. They're not supposed to do what's good for racing.
They're doing what's good for Churchill, right?
And all you can hope for, which I think they do, is they look for some win-wins, which can happen too. And one of the things about somebody that powerful is they have the financial wherewithal to make some of these things that we talk about happen. At any rate, that's another. But I have historically spent a lot of time because of my NYRA hat thinking about this and working on it. So anyway,
have you been over to the new Belmont?
I haven't been since Glenn Kozak took me aside and showed me a bunch of pictures. And what a great chance we all have there. What a great chance we have.
Well, that's kind of my thinking is, obviously I agree with your contraction point and we share the same feelings about smaller but I'm wondering, is anybody willing to make the necessary investment to actually build a new track, to find a place? And I'll just throw out, whether it's Vegas or a Palm Springs or it seems like, yes, we're talking about contraction, we're talking about all that kind of stuff, but where is the next Oaklawn Park going to be? Because when was the last time a track was built other than fixed up like Belmont?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I don't have a thoughtful answer on it. I would say that when you say Las Vegas, I get super excited, as we all do.
I have this dream from my Las Vegas racetrack, okay? Where it's indoor and climate controlled, like they built over in Dubai for their training center. We run at night. The shuttles go back and forth. Huge sports book. I mean, I've got it in my head.
Great restaurants. Like, why aren't we doing that?
Yeah.
I talked to Mike Pegram about it actually recently because I was like gung ho. I'm like, someone needs to just do it. But he said the land, the getting it, the casinos to partake, it's very, very difficult.
You got to get a casino alongside so that you can have like some kind of sister agreement, right?
I agree. Right. I don't know. We're too simple to do that, Michelle. We need Steve on our we need to talk off the air and get Steve on our board.
You're nice to say that. The one thing that people, when they ask me about the economics of running a racetrack or owning a racetrack, is that if you think about what it costs us to put on one gambling event at NYRA, it's probably $100,000 or more. The average purse, let's call the average purse 90. That's probably not right. But then you got to fix the barns and the cost of putting a gambling event on a slot machine is a tenth of a penny. Or even if you're running, croupiers at the craps table. So we're up against it that way. But it doesn't mean that it's problematic. It just means we have to be really, Michelle, to your point, really smart about who we partner with, how it works, and why that's good for those partners. Why is it good for a casino? Why is it good? So,
right. Why is it good for the Indians? Why is it good for the casino? Yeah.
Correct. There you go.
Yeah, you're right about that. Can we talk about deterministic?
Sure. I'd love to.
That was, first of all, I hammered him, number one.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Had a very nice day that day. Were you nervous that when it was before you knew it was going to be canceled and run the next day? Were you like, oh, what am I doing?
My son graduated from high school this weekend, so I couldn't have been there on Saturday.
Oh,
it worked out there.
Steve was actually like, "Hey, NYRA, I've got an idea."
And we were on the other end of that last year when the Saratoga Invitational was postponed for a week.
Yeah.
So I think that's become something that's happened now because of safety, and I wouldn't have put it at 10%, even knowing the weather forecast beforehand. But once it rained 2 inches, it wasn't. I mean, what are you going to do? Take the grade ones off the turf because it wasn't safe. So anyway, I was able to go. I was incredibly nervous.
You get nervous still?
Crazy nervous.
What do you get nervous about? Is it, we've talked about this before because Michelle and I are very different. I get more anxious than nervous. Like I get more excited than I do like nervous. Like, are you nervous that something's going to happen or he's not going to win or
nervous, maybe excited and anxious for the outcome because the process has been happening and now it's just the outcome. And as you know, you both know, you do this for a living. There's chaos out there. And I said this after the race, we got lucky so many ways to win that race that you can't even begin to count them up. And I just say thank you. That's it. I mean, it's because sometimes it goes the other way. And I really, that was a hugely meaningful. I get choked up because I was great friends with Kristoff. I mean, not my trainer, my great friend.
That's all,
And
yeah, it's hard. It's hard. We know he was very well loved in the industry, and obviously Miguel is going to carry the mantle, and he's already doing so well. And he's a classy kid, just like his dad. So I don't think he's as fun as his dad, though.
Kristoff just was so unique. He was so rangy. All the things that everyone said about him, but boy, oh boy, you could talk about anything. I met Kristoff, really met him the first time when I was chairman, and he wanted to come in and see me about something. And so I got a lot of those. And usually it was a trainer just saying, oh, this happened, that happened. More to the complaint bureau, which is fine.
The races didn't fill. They're not filling.
Thank you. And Kristoff comes in, and he had a suggestion for something that would actually help Naira. And we kicked it around for 45 minutes, but it wasn't about I need X or this, I got screwed or anything. Right. And that's what he was like. But boy, you said it right. So much fun, so much stinking fun. So anyway, but the deterministic, Kevin Warsh and I, Kevin's one of my greatest buddies. So owning horses with him, he and I have owned horses for a while now, and we got hooked up with Vinny and Ken Langone. And Vinny is magic, and we are free riders on Vinny's brains. So guess what? There you go. And
Steve, it's very much like this show. Michelle is just riding on my brain, like
100%. I just sit here and smile.
Doesn't say much. Not opinionated either.
How many horses do you have right now, Steve?
That's a good question. We counted it up the other day, and I think it's 7 pieces of 17.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And that counts some foals we have and a bunch of 2-year-olds. And then there's another partner called Jump Sucker Stable that Kevin and I are in. Mm-hmm. So I keep my hand in it. But it's interesting because another thing about Kristoff, of all that, I've had a lot of trainers over the years. He's the best communicator I've ever had. And you know this, both of you know this. A lot of the fun comes in the lead up and knowing about your horse and talking with the trainer about it. And man, oh man, that's so good at that.
I gotta say, as vocal and as up to date Kristoff is on social media, I can only imagine how well he updates his owners, because I mean, he has a full-time staff member who is dedicated to posting videos and photos and telling you who worked and everything, just for people who want to follow along the CC tribe. So the fact that he does that for people that have no vested interest, I'm sure to his owners, he's super communicative.
Here's what he does. This is so simple. After the horse breezes, when they're walking around the walking ring, he takes a video and talks in it for 30 seconds and sends it to all the owners. Yeah. And Warsh and I will get these. We got a video. It's just.
We have a horse with him. We had a horse with him. We have him with Miguel now, and the horse is with Saul Acumen and Brett Jones, and Saul named the horse Tater Tot. And Kristoff could not say
it's a dog.
So we would get these videos, and he'd send it to us all together on one text string. It says, "This is Tatoto," and all of it. I mean, the whole thing is just ha 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 ha. It was really funny. It was unfortunate. That was our first horse with him. He was always asking me, "When are we getting a horse? When are we getting a horse?" And finally, we got a horse, and unfortunately, we lost him.
And Miguel does the same thing, and he's going to be a great communicator. But the big problem is he doesn't have that accent.
I know. I mean, it sounds so boring compared to his dad, right? Like,
he's not nearly as funny. Let's just be honest. He just doesn't have the humor that Kristoff has. Anyway,
I've never actually talked to him except for pre and post race.
Yeah, he's very serious. Very serious. Well, Steve, listen. We wish you all the best. This was so much fun. This was one of the
Thank you. You guys are great. You're nice to have me on. I get to tell them my old war stories and bring up Bates Motel. And
are there any?
I can't wait till you write a book. I'm going to be the first. I want your first book.
Yeah, there you go.
Trust me, you got all the highlights. This is a blog post, not a book.
What any 2-year-olds we need to like pay attention to? Some cool. They're starting
Liam's
to get
map out of autonomous. Liam's map out of autonomous, unnamed.
Okay.
Will be named shortly.
Michelle is very good at that. If you need some help,
I think we have this one. I would tell you, but it hasn't been approved yet, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
No
And we have a Mendelssohn. I can't remember the mayor, but both those with Miguel.
Okay.
I think are super promising. He has compared the Liam's map autonomous to deterministic in the way he moves.
Great.
Okay.
So
he just won a grade 1. So
Turf
I'm just
debut.
assume, yeah, he's going to be great.
Hope Springs Eternal.
Hope Springs.
Now,
That's a good name.
Am I going to see you guys at Saratoga? At that? What's?
Only
You
her.
won't see Billy for sure, but you might see me.
You won't come at all.
Should I tell Steve my Saratoga story?
You can tell him your Saratoga story.
I've been to Saratoga only, I think I went twice, but the one time, the second time I went, we had 5 horses in stakes races. It was Whitney weekend, like 3 years ago, Michelle, 4 years ago. And it was 1,000 degrees with 2,000 degree humidity. I walked out of my hotel and I was just like pouring sweat. And then like 5 minutes later, it would pour like we were in Noah's Ark level pouring, and then it would stop, and then it would get hot. And I was like, this is crazy. And Steve, this is no joke. All 5 of my horses, who all had shots, I flew all the way to New York, all ran last. All 5. And so we did a pod the next week. I said, that's it. I am never going to that.
I couldn't wear shorts. I was sweating. I had to have a coat, and all my horses ran last.
It was that's exactly what it was.
Really, that's why I don't like Del Mar.
No, your horses don't.
All my horses run last.
No.
By the way, I love Del Mar. I love Del Mar.
Why don't you come to Del Mar?
I have done that in the past, and I will do it again in the future. I just took a big time out because of Naira, and when I was chairman, I mean, you had to be there. So it's just, that's it. But I love Del Mar. Ted Levis, the guy I keep talking about, lives in San Diego. So,
great.
Billy's got a table reserved that you're welcome at any time.
Tell him to come out. We'll take good care of him, Steve. You put him in touch with me.
Okay, great. And maybe we'll see for the Breeders' Cup. You never know. We
there
got a chance, right?
We'll definitely be a Breeders' Cup.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What race does deterministic run in the turf?
It have to be the mile. Yeah, the turf.
No.
Yeah.
It'll either be the turf of the mile. I think his next couple races will determine it. And probably if you said to me right now that I had to make the decision, which by the way, I'm not in the top 5 who makes this decision, it would be the mile. But we'll see.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how Carl Spackler runs in what's he running in next week, Michelle? He's running up in at
Ascot. He's going to go to Ascot, but then he's not going to come back. He's going to go to Australia.
I thought he was sold and gone.
He's gone. You don't
he's
have to
Ascot and then Australia, so he's not coming back to the mile.
Yeah,
God bless you, Carl Spackler.
Yeah, a lot of horses retired out of that division. Cherie's horse, the one. Yeah, that's Johannes is coming back.
Johannes is coming back. He's back at the track, just at his first work.
Yep. So, all right. Well, listen, we'll look out for you, Steve. Thanks for spending the time.
You guys were great. Thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it.
That was awesome. We really appreciate it. Good luck.
Where is
how do you not know that guy before this interview?
I don't know. And he owned your favorite horse.
Yeah. He owned Bates Motel.
Isn't that the a part of it? Isn't that the craziest story?
Bates Motel, Vigors, La Zanzara, J.O. Tobin. Those were my horses growing up. I mean, that's crazy. I have a picture somewhere of Bates Motel. That's nuts.
That's awesome. Well, I thank you so much to Shannon Kelly for facilitating that. And thank you for Steve for coming on. I told him 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I feel like I could have easily talked to him for an hour.
That was great. No, he was really great. Thanks, Michelle, for
We'll have to have a part 2 of him this summer where he can tell us more about his involvement.
Well, I have some bad news.
What?
My computer is literally flashing. It's going to run out, and I'm not near a charge.
Gosh. Okay, well, then just real quick, coming up this weekend at Santa Anita, we've got racing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because it is closing weekend at the Great Race Place. Thursday is just normal, everything racing. Friday, you can get your spectacular bid pin, which Billy, you got one.
Yes, I
Saturday,
did. I
we
have it
do
right
have
here.
the Daytona and the possibly perfect stakes. And then Sunday, it is Father's Day. It is closing day. The San Juan Capistrano is going to be our feature race on the day. And of course, if you want to spend Father's Day at Santa Anita, we've got Drams for Dad's whiskey tasting in the Chandelier Room. We've got a Father's Day barbecue picnic on the apron. We've got the Front Runner Buffet. They're doing the Seabiscuit Tram Tours powered by My Racehorse. We've got the Gold Road Lounge out, and of course, mandatory payouts throughout the entire day. So lots going on.
Lots going on, and happy Father's Day to Ryan.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day to you.
Yeah, I think I have a horse run on Sunday, so I'll be out there.
Do you? I will, but I'll be leaving Sunday for Royal Ascot.
Oh, well, have a great. That's where you do the great. Don't you you put your little hat on thing? Okay.
I
Have
do.
fun.
5 hats.
Have a great time. All right, everybody. Great
All right,
show.
well, we'll see you guys. Well, this will be our last show then till Del Mar. So
yes, we'll take a break.
we'll miss everybody, but see you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.